He's known throughout the motorsport world as the man behind Formula E. What I wanted to know, however, was whether Alejandro Agag also likes combustion engines.
Go back a lot. I loved cars like any kid born in the 70s. I remember my dream car was the Lamborghini Countach. And I had all these little, how you call them, cards that you exchange at school with all the cars and so on. And I was, of course, completely crazy for fast cars, and like every kid on those times. Now it's different with the new generations, but at my time, a car was the absolute dream. Then my parents lived for a while in Monte Carlo, in Monaco, when I was 11, 12, 13, 14 years old, something like that. And we were just living at the Mirabel, so next to the Mirabeau corner, going into the tunnel. So that was my first experience when I was 10, probably, or 11, watching from my terrace the Formula One cars going around the Mirabeau corner and into the tunnel. And of course, I completely fell in love with Formula One. And I've been always a big fan of Formula One. Then I did some politics and other things, and started getting into an interest into environment and into the climate change and into all these challenges we have when I was in politics. But then after politics, I came straight into motor racing when I was about 31, 32. I had some good friends in motor racing, Bernie Ecclestone, Flavio Briatore. They opened the door for me of the world of motor racing. We did some things in Spain. Fernando Alonso was just coming up through the ranks, and it went really well for us, with the TV rights there and so on and so on. I didn't think about electric cars. I loved combustion cars, and I still love combustion cars. They're fantastic, and I have great combustion cars. But more and more the climate challenges, the environment, the pollution issues and so on started really taking more and more of importance in my thinking. And and then when actually it was a sponsor who said, listen, we cannot be involved anymore in Formula One because of the sustainability issues, is when I thought we have a problem. And it's when I thought maybe doing something with electric cars would really make sense. That idea evolved, and it kind of had different moments. At one point we found ourselves with Jean Todt having dinner in Paris. The idea came to do a championship, and my mind was ready really I was convinced that this was the real deal, that this was really what was needed in this moment of time. And then I dedicated 100% of my time to it.
You're obviously a risk taker, and you obviously focus on something and go for it. If you look back now, what was the risk percentage at that moment when you had that discussion with Jean Todt?
If I look back now, the risk was huge because, if I would have known what I know now then, I would have done it anyway, but it has been a lot harder than what we thought. I thought, I was very naive. I thought, I'm going to announce I'm going to do an electrical championship, and sponsors are just going to start calling.
Yeah.
It didn't happen. It was really, really tough. Because the problem is when we announced it, nobody really believed it was going to happen. So the risk was probably 95% risk.
And part of that lack of the telephone ringing is the little point you made earlier, which is that kids today don't necessarily swap Lamborghini cards anymore. And that's part of the issue with motorsport in general, correct? That kids today aren't thinking, I want a fast car, I want to be a race driver, thinking of something else. Can you talk to me about that?
I think that's true. I think we're in a moment where kids have completely different priorities. The kids, what they want to have is a mobile phone in their hand, basically all the time, which is somehow sad. And for them, go to point A to point B is a question of mobility. They don't think of doing it on a beautiful machine. They just think of doing it and getting there on the cheapest and fastest and more practical way. So that's a challenge for motorsport. But it's not the end of motorsport at all, because these kids are also interested in technology. They're interested in innovation. They're interested in sustainability. They're interested in other things. They're interested in fun. They're interested in interaction. So there are ways in which motorsport can be all those things. If you go to completely traditional motorsport, maybe that doesn't have a future, but motorsport can adapt. And this is what we try to do also with Formula E, to really adapt to, and I think we're doing okay. We are getting a lot of traction, especially with younger demographics, just making them enjoy the motorsport through different channels and a different way. So definitely the world is different today.
When you made the decision to go ahead and do this, how much was your thinking focused on the car and the technology and the format, and how much of it was already embracing the package we know and love today, which is wonderful venues, the lifestyle, the whole Formula E
For me,
drama?
really, yeah, all this has kind of happened as we went forward. For me, really, the key idea, which was at the origin, was to bring together motorsport and sustainability, or green, if you like. So if you bring motorsport and green together, you create an incredibly powerful combination, because many people love motorsport, many other people love to be sustainability friendly, and so on and so on. You put those two together. So that was the core of it. That, of course, involved technology, clean technology, new technology, electric cars, which, you know, we also had some lucky things. We're not lucky for the world or for those companies, but like the Dieselgate, for example, or, you know, those kind of things pushed things in our direction.
Yeah.
So we had some kind of like tailwinds pushing us forward, no? But the origin was that. Then, of course, the city venues was key to make it different, because we had to be different. Very challenging, because do races in cities is very difficult, but it was a key part of it. And then the whole lifestyle and the whole kind of like younger generation and the fan boost and the, you know, e-gaming and all these things.
The Gen 2 car's coming, and obviously we have to wait and see how that goes. It looks dramatic, is probably the right phrase. What do you say about the criticisms to do with the specific racing, the lack of noise, the way the cars look, the tight corners? Is that something that's going to evolve? I mean, or how do you feel about that?
Well, the lack of noise is both an advantage and a disadvantage. Obviously, I love the noise of, you know, V12s, V10s, even V8s. I don't really like the V6 noise, unless there's a turbo.
Have you got a Lamborghini?
I haven't got a Lamborghini, sadly, no. I would love to have a Lamborghini, but I don't. You know, lack of noise, we don't think is so important. We are exploring some ways of maybe having some noise, but not artificially generated noise, not energy artificially generated noise. Maybe some aerodynamic noise that we can add to the bodywork, and that may, you know, because what is cool with the noise is the Doppler effect, which by the sound you can perceive if a car is going away from you or towards you, and we could have that, and that could add a lot to the excitement in the race. So we're looking into some solutions, but I'm not particularly worried about the lack of noise. Of course, the lack of speed. You can go always faster, but first of all, we race in very tight street circuits,
which is a function of being on that city in the first place.
So we cannot go faster anyway.
Yeah.
We could go faster in some cities, in some occasions. Cars are going faster and faster. Give us some time. You know, we cannot do everything in one day. But, you know, from generation 1 to generation 2, there's going to be a big increase in performance and a huge increase in distance that the car can go. So technology-wise, the curve of improvement of Formula E is like this. Other championships go like this because they have improved already so much in the previous 60 or 70 or 80 years. We've been here 3. So we're improving like this.